Hi friends, welcome back to my channel Swapnil's Analysis, and I am Swapnil. Today we are going to discuss a very interesting sonnet of William Shakespeare, sonnet number 130. My mistress's eyes are nothing like the sun. So William Shakespeare, we all are known as a very greatest playwright in English literature, not only of English literature but all of the literature in the world, and simultaneously he is also known as the bard. Bard means the poet. Why is known as the bard? Because if you read the dialogues of his plays, you will find the poetic quality that is reflected in his dialogue. Therefore he is known as the bard, and he has written a very powerful and beautiful sonnets and the long poems and the lyrics. Therefore, rather than known as the playwright, he is known as the bard. So, as we are all aware of Shakespeare's writing, that Shakespeare has never ever followed any kind of tradition. He has always gone away or challenged the established tradition, be it in drama, be it in comedy, be it in tragedy, and he was the first person to mingle both the elements of drama, that is comedy and tragedy, together. And he has been criticized for that, and therefore Dr. Johnson has written a very beautiful defense of Shakespeare and how he had justified his mingling of tragedy and comedy. We all have studied that. But today's consideration of our the sonnet, that is sonnet number 130, is a very interesting one, which, as I have mentioned earlier, why I am saying it's very interesting, it is only because when Shakespeare was writing in that time, Elizabethan period, in that era, sonnet was the newly introduced form, and therefore all the writers, they were got fascinated towards this short lyric. Sonnet is nothing but a 14-line poem, and it is called as a short lyric, and it is Italian in form, in origin. So for the expression of love, Philip Sidney and Edmund Spenser, the contemporaries of Shakespeare, they used sonnet, or they made a famous sonnet for the expression of love, and therefore a term is coined or established to those kinds of sonnet, that is of courtly love. Now what is a courtly love? In a courtly love, a lover, he would fall in love with a beautiful girl, beautiful damsel, and but he would not express his love to that beautiful damsel, but rather than he would write anonymous poems. He would stare at that beautiful damsel from a distance, but he would not dare to express his love on face to her, and therefore they would write anonymous poems to impress her, to win her love, and later on they would show their face that okay, I am the same person who was writing you those poems. So this kind of love is called as a courtly love, where the lover, he courts, he woos his beloved, and he tries to win her heart through his poems, through her sugar coated words and all other things. And therefore if we study, means we have studied John Donne, and John Donne's poems, they are more deeper in the love, because the critics, they have made very confused the students of literature by tagging the poems of John Donne as metaphysical. No, metaphysical word came into existence after John Donne. When John Donne was writing, He rebelled against the poetic style of Edmund Spenser and Philip Sidney, where the lover is very boldly confronting and confessing his love to his beloved rather than hiding behind the trees or behind the wall. So, if we study Elizabethan poetry and the impact of Elizabethan poetry, mostly Philip Sidney and Edmund Spenser, you'll find that. But we should give credit to Philip Sidney and Edmund Spenser for popularizing this form, the popularizing of love poems. So, means for instance, Philip Sidney wrote a very beautiful sonnet sequence, that is Astrophil and Stella. And in this sonnet sequence, Astrophil he tries to express his love, and therefore the first sonnet commences thus: loving in truth and fain in verse my love to show. Here is saying that I love you truly and I will try to express my love in verse, means in poems, in poetic lines. And therefore what Philip Sidney and Edmund Spenser they did, they glorified their beloved. Their beloved means they presented their beloved as if not a human being but a kind of a goddess or an angel, and there is no match on this planet to their beloved. And therefore, because she has a beauty and she is the most beautiful woman or the girl on this planet, therefore she deserves that kind of a love which has been expressed in Amorethy and Astrophil and Stella. So Shakespeare, as we all are aware of, that he is a very practical person. He did not write anything to teach anyone. He just objectively observed the human nature, and he was, I think, a very realistic writer. And therefore he did not indulge into the fictional or imaginary world. Although his works were imaginary or fictional, but he wrote very objectively. So sonnet number 130 is not any exception to the style of William Shakespeare. So in this sonnet, William Shakespeare, he is writing about, or he is describing about his beloved. And what here he is presenting a contrast. He is presenting the contrast to the beloved of Philip Sidney and Edmund Spenser, that his beloved is a very normal human being, a very normal lady. She is a woman and she does not have any kind of extraterrestrial qualities which has been described by Philip Sidney and Edmund Spenser to their sonnets. So here he starts thus, sonnet number 130 of William Shakespeare. My mistress's eyes are nothing like the sun. Coral is far more red than her lips red. What here he says, that my mistress's eyes are nothing like the sun, because in one of the sonnet Philip Sidney has described that his beloved, I mean, Astrophil has described that Stella has the eyes which are brighter than the sun. And therefore he commences his sonnet that my mistress's eyes are nothing like the sun, means she has a very normal eyes and her eyes are nowhere compared to the sun. They have a very normal, she has a very normal eyes which are not brighter than the sun, and the coral is far more red than her lips red. So here says that coral is a sea plant which is a kind of a reddish one. Here he says that not that reddish one but a milder reddish one, coral plant, sea plant, where you find in at the basement of the sea, that her lips are not redder than the coral. Forget about the red rose. She has a very normal pink lips, nothing special about that. If snow be white, why then her breasts are done. Here he says that my beloved's breasts, means the color of my beloved's breasts are brown, they are not whiter than the snow. If hair be wires, black wires grow on her head. Here he is saying that my beloved's hair, they are very normal. They are not like golden, because in one of the sonnet, Edmund Spenser has described the hair of his beloved, that what guile is this, that those her golden tresses she doth attire under a net of gold. He has compared the locks of her hair, Edmund Spenser, in the sonnet number 37, as if the hair is of a golden color, means she had blonde hair. But here he is saying that no, my beloved, she has a very normal hair, and her hair, they are curly, not the golden stresses or nothing special about her hair. I have seen roses damask, red and white, but no such roses see I in her cheeks. Here he says that I have seen roses of different colors, red and white, but I do not see any kind of roses on her cheeks. She has a very normal, means her color is brown. She is not a very fair blonde woman. She is a very normal country girl, where her color is light brown. Her hair, they are curly hair and black color, and her eyes, they are black. They are not blue eyes or something brighter or sparkling eyes. No, she is a very normal human being. And in some perfumes is there more delight than in the breath that from my mistress reeks. Here he says that my beloved, her breath stinks. She smells, because I have smelled so many beautiful aromas, perfumes, and my beloved's breath is not compared to that perfumes. She reeks, means she stinks. Her breath stinks. I love to hear her speak. Yet well I know that music hath a far more pleasing sound. Here he says that I love the sound or the voice of my beloved. But contrastingly, I am also aware that music is the sweeter than the sound or the voice of my beloved. Here he is being very realistic. I grant I never saw a goddess go. My mistress, when she walks, treads on the ground. In one of the sonnet, Philip Sidney has described in Astrophil and Stella that when Stella walks, she walks like the goddess. And in Amorethy, Spenser has described his beloved not the earthly being, but a kind of an angel who has fallen from the heaven. So here he says that okay, I have not seen goddess. How goddess walks, I don't know, because I have not seen it. But I have seen my beloved, she walks on the ground, and she walks like a normal young woman. Yet, by heaven, I think my love as rare as any, she belied with the false compare. So last two lines here he says that yet I know everything about my beloved. She doesn't have very sparkling eyes. Her lips are not red. Her hair, they are curly and black color. And the skin color of my beloved is not as white as compared. I mean, she is not fair. She has a brown color. I mean, she could be of mixed race. She is not neither very of dark color, nor she is very fair color. She is of a brown color. And her mouth stinks whenever I goes nearby her, or whenever I try to kiss her. Her mouth stinks. She is not, because she is not very earthly being. She is not a very angelic or not a goddess. And therefore, and whenever she speaks, I know that her voice is not beautiful or not greater than the music. And I have also not seen how goddess walk, but my beloved, she walks very stylishly. Here, why he has described his beloved in such a way where what he is saying that my beloved, she is a human being. She is not like an angel, nor she is like a goddess. She is a very normal human being. Therefore, her hair are curly, her eyes are black, and her lips are normal pink color, not the red color, imaginary, fictionalized red color. And more important thing, what makes her beloved outstands to the beloved, imaginary beloved of the concept of beloved of Philip Sidney and Edmund Spencer, that he himself informs us that the mouth of his beloved stinks. This is a very normal thing. So, and whenever she walks very normally like any other woman. And therefore, in the last two lines, the most interesting thing for me here, he says that I think my love as rare as any she belied with the false compare. Here he says that although she has no qualities as described by Philip Sidney or Edmund Spencer, but still she is rare. Now, what does he mean by here rare? Rare means she is a very normal human being. I am a human being and I do not want to love any of the angel or any of the goddess. No. She is rare means although she doesn't have any speciality, but all these things are special for me. She is very special for me. I don't care about what the other people think about her, but for me, my beloved is rare. For me, my beloved is beautiful. Although she is not fair, although she doesn't have golden hair, although she doesn't walk like a goddess, although her skin color is not as fair as people want it to be, but for me, her inner beauty is more important, because here he is only describing about the outer beauty. So did by the Philip Sidney, so did by the Edmund Spencer. They have given importance to the outer beauty of their beloved. Here he is saying that my beloved, she does not have any special features, but he loves her inner beauty. What her inner beauty is, therefore that inner beauty is completely compiled together in one word, that is my love as rare as any she belied with false compare. Means she has some magical quality. She has something which he is not able to describe in words. Therefore he has described that she is very rare. For him she is very rare, and therefore that's matter to him. And nothing else matter more than to him than the rarity of his beloved. That is, here is talking about the inner beauty, the beauty, the love which transcends beyond the physical beauty. And therefore Shakespeare, he outstands. Shakespeare, he had that knack of observing objectively, to go deeper into the human heart, to gauge the deepness of the human heart. And therefore why Shakespeare is loved today, because of his objectivity, because he has been very objective regarding his character, regarding everything. Therefore this poem is, therefore I have mentioned, it is very interesting one, and you should also read it. And please let me know what you think about this rare aspect. Why Shakespeare has said that his love is so rare, and I do not want to compare her with any of the other thing, because I am also been thinking about this rare, the word of the rare, because he has not explained anything further. Do let me know in the comment section, and of course if you have liked my presentation, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much.